Understanding dimensions and spirituality, who you truly are. You are so much more than the mind and this body. You are a multi-dimensional spiritual being. Now, in this video, I'm going to break down the 12 dimensions, give you the exact layout on celestial beings, aliens, what's really going on in our galactic universe. Starting at the bottom here, all right, we have the first density. I'm going to use the word density instead of dimension. Understand that density is exactly what's happening when you understand the dimensions, okay? It is a very dense thing, right? It is contracting your energy when you are on the lower dimensions. The more you increase your awareness, increase your vibration, you are going to enter higher consciousness, which is a higher dimension or a higher density. You are expanding your consciousness. So let's begin right here at the first. The first density is the material universe. This is the mineral kingdom, all right? As you know, we are on this samsara, this cycle of birth and death. The very beginning is the mineral kingdom. Then we go into the rocks, the plants, the animals, all the way up into a human existence. A human birth is by far a miracle. This is the highest form of incarnation that you could possibly achieve. So do not take this life for granted. This is an amazing experience to be able to realize your true self right here on planet Earth and do the work that we are supposed to do. So the second density ties to plants, animals. The third density is all physical beings. And I have this in separate categories for a reason, okay? The third density is also the third dimension. That is based out of fear. That is being controlled by the Nephilim, you know, from the Nibiru, the reptilians. There are certain aliens and celestial beings that want to keep you in the lower dimension, all right? The government knows about this. People understand this. There are certain entities that are keeping people trapped in a lower vibration to simply keep them in control, whether it's consuming their energy, using it for greed, material wealth, you name it. This is all happening in the lower dimension. That's why you need to realize yourself and wake up so you can enter the true freedom in this higher consciousness, which starts at the fourth density. This is tied to spiritual growth. This is tied to who you truly are, understanding you are more than the mind, more than this body. You are so much more than what you think you are. Getting into the fourth dimension, this is tied to the other celestial beings. We have the Lyrian celestial being tied to Lyria. We have the Arcturians tied to Arcturus. We have Palladians tied to the constellation of Pallades. Syrian beings tied to Sirius. There are so much other galaxies out there besides the Milky Way. We have been on this evolution of this soul, or samsara, the cycle of birth and death, for longer than you can comprehend. Now, the fourth density, again, is all about spiritual growth. And notice over here, time is linear. Everything happening in the third density and lower, there is time, space. There are certain laws that govern each dimension. So you have to understand the universal laws that are happening, not man-made laws, the universal laws that come from the universe. Now, this is all happening simultaneously. I want all of you to understand that based on your karma, based on wherever you're at of the evolution of the soul, dictates where you're going to fall into, what category based on the dimension that you are experiencing. This dimension is not a place, not a physical place. This is a experience. This is a place in your mind. This is a place that you are completely changing to create the reality that you are looking for. Now, going up into the last level of individuality is right in between the fifth and sixth dimension. I don't want to, on this channel, I don't want to confuse too many people. I only talk about the fifth dimension and lower because that's what's applicable right now on planet Earth. We are all entering the fifth dimension, going from a fear-based reality, a very dense reality, raising our consciousness to a fifth dimensional love-based reality. That's happening right now on planet Earth. Everyone is doing their part to anchor in this higher vibration. Now, going up, this is what's known as the oversoul. The Atman is your soul. In your heart, you have a tiny little space that harnesses the soul. We have an oversoul, what's known as, some people like to call it the super soul as well. This is tied to the 6th dimension. Now, notice the gap here as well. We have another gap in between the 6th and 7th dimension, because this is what implies our spiritual work. What are we supposed to do on this planet? You are here to realize your true self. You do that by getting past the 3rd density into the 4th density, which is where your spiritual work really begins. If you are watching this channel right now, if you're subscribed and you've been watching the videos, I can assure you that you are on the 4th density and above. You are already anchoring in the 5th dimensional energy. Now, 7th dimension and the 7th density goes into the master oversoul. This is the entire encompassing of who you truly are. Next is the 8th dimension. This is the avatar planes. Paramahansa Yogananda, one of my amazing gurus, teachers. I love Paramahansa Yogananda. There's Sri Aurobindo. There's a lot of people out there. Sri Ramakrishna. There's a lot of what I would call realized beings or avatars, meaning they descended down to planet Earth to help people wake up. We have the Buddha. We have many stories. Sri Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya, Paramahansa. There are so many what I would call avatars or ascended masters, again, that came down here to planet Earth to help people wake up. They are from the 8th density. They are literally coming down from the 8th density down into the 3rd dimension to help people wake up. This is a beautiful process. If you haven't read Autobiography of a Yogi, I highly suggest reading that book. I keep it close by right here in the van at all times. This book changed my life. This is the book that Steve Jobs carried with him. It was the only book on his iPad. I mean, I highly suggest you read this book. This is filled with good information. I get so many people asking me about book recommendations, and I always send them right here. Seriously, people, this book changed my life, and I highly recommend reading it. Now, moving on, we have the Christ and Buddha consciousness. Okay, this is what I talked about in the 9th density. This is the realized beings holding it down. They are keeping the consciousness alive in the 9th density, allowing everything to be experienced in the lower densities. Just so you know, there's a rule of thumb here. Everything in the higher density, all of the celestial beings, entities, realized masters in the higher densities can control the lower densities or influence the lower densities. It doesn't work the other way around. You can't be in the plant and animal kingdom in the 2nd dimension and influence the physical dimension on the 3rd reality. So there's people, plants, animals, minerals, right, on this planet. They can't influence the higher humans that are in the 3rd dimension and beyond. Now, you, a human being, are a multi-dimensional spiritual being. That's who you truly are. This human body is tied to the 3rd dimension because it has form. It has density. There's blood veins, nerve cells. There's over 150 billion cells in this body that make up this human existence. Now, at that same time, you have a soul. You have a spirit soul. That's who you truly are. This body is just a covering. It's a mask. This human meat suit is tied to the 3rd dimension. Now, the more you realize your true self and get into the spiritual growth in the 4th density, the more you can anchor in the 5th density, which is that pure unconditional love vibration. Going into the 10th density, right? Stay with me here. I know there's a lot here. There is a higher God realm. This is when we, in yoga, we get into the gods and the demigods. You start getting into what, Krishna and Shiva. We have Ganesh. I mean, there are thousands of Hindu god and goddesses that are tied to the god realms in the 10th density that are, again, anchoring in that vibration, allowing the lower densities to be maintained. That's exactly how all of this works. Now, going higher, this is the 11th density, which is the universal realm of consciousness, the great oneness, the great, amazing, beautiful Christ consciousness. Some people like to call it Krishna consciousness or oneness, whatever word you like to use for that. That is the 11th density. Now, The last density is the 12th dimension. This is pure source energy. Then the 13th and above, this is just the void. This is the complete unmanifested energy. Not the void like emptiness. A lot of people mistake that with when they get into Buddhism or start researching emptiness and a lot of the terminology that comes with Buddhists. There is a complete emptiness at the same time that is the complete fulfillness. So don't use that word empty. Don't get trapped down here in duality thinking it's bad or good. This is just the complete unmanifested universe, the void, complete source energy, which then manifests down into these denser and denser and denser realities. So as we go up the level of dimensions, we are expanding our cup. We are increasing our consciousness. As things get down into a lower vibration, it becomes very dense, very rigid, very stuck. That's why people down here in the third dimension are in the matrix. That's why they are stuck in fear, stuck in pain, constantly in that victim mentality, blaming other people for their mistakes. I'm sure you've experienced a lot of people down here in the lower vibration. Now, as you know, we are all here on this planet to be leaders, to become the shepherd, to help other people wake up. It's exactly what the Buddha did, Jesus, Yeshua, Christ, whatever name you want to give that amazing ascended master. The more energy we can put onto their teachings, whether it's the Buddha and you're into the Buddhism, whether you're a Christian and you are into the teachings of Yeshua or Christ, whether you are into Krishna and you are a Hare Krishna devotee, it doesn't matter. This is all happening at the 9th density, and we are anchoring in that vibration. Now, let's all bring this to the modern time. Let's circle back and go all the way back to 2020, right here where we are at. Now, we are right here at the 4th and 5th dimension. There is a huge shift in consciousness that has happened right here in the 4th and 5th dimension. This is what's happening right now on 2020. People are waking up. This is the Great Awakening. It's a very exciting time to be alive. Right now, we have a major influences from the Palladian, Arcturian, Lyrian, Orion beings, meaning there are celestial beings in these higher densities that are, again, influencing the lower densities. So that's why you're seeing the synchronicities. That's why you're seeing the angel numbers. That's why your higher self is coming online. That's why a lot of people are into DMT and psychedelics and people expanding their consciousness using tools like ayahuasca and psilocybin mushrooms, you name it. I mean, nature has so many things right here in front of us to help us wake up. Now, your guides, whether they are tied to Pleiades or Arcturian beings or Syrian beings, it doesn't matter. You need to pay attention. You need to understand that they are sending you messages. They are sending you messages in the form of everything in your reality to help you wake up. They are influencing the lower dimensions to create the outcome into a higher consciousness, because everything is affected. Every being, everybody is affected. Even the higher beings and the demigods on the 9th and 10th density are affected by the people and the beings down here in the 3rd density. It's all one. It's all the same consciousness. Now remember, everything we do down here, remember like dropping a nuclear bomb, obviously affects everybody on these densities. So remember, you are infinite. You are more than this body. You are more than the mind. You are more than what you think you are. You are literally infinite. You are here to increase the consciousness on planet Earth. Rise up and be the change that you're looking for. Take action from those signs from the universe. There are people right now that are stuck in these lower vibrations, okay? And this all comes down to karma and reincarnation, doing the work that you are sent to do. What is your purpose? What are you here to do on planet Earth? You are here right now, bare minimum, in the 3rd dimension. You are not in the mineral kingdom and the plant kingdom. You've been through that billions of times. Now you have a human body. From the 4th density up, you are entering the human consciousness. Going past the 4th density up, you are entering the spiritual path. That's what this is all about. Spirituality, understanding who you truly are. You are not this body. You are not your thoughts. You are so much more than that. Start paying attention and start increasing your consciousness with the techniques that I talk about on this channel. Do the guided meditations, do the work that you are supposed to do. Everyone is at a different evolution of the soul. That's exactly what's happening right now on planet Earth. We are experiencing the shift in consciousness. So right here, I want you guys to remember that all the third dimension and below is tied to space and time. Once you get past the third dimension into the fifth dimension right here, that is when time becomes fluid. There is no more a past, there is no more future, there is no more linear time frame. This is when time becomes fluid. And past the seventh density, the dimensions and the laws that govern them do not apply whatsoever. This is complete light. This is complete causal experience. There is no form whatsoever in the seventh density and above. These are complete, what we call celestial beings, complete light beings. Right now, in the third density, if you were to lose your body, if you were to die, your soul would go into these higher dimensions. Now, again, you are sent to planet Earth for a reason. It's what's called a soul contract. You have a very specific task that you are supposed to do on planet Earth. There are certain things that the celestial beings on these dimensions can't do. You need a physical body to realize the truth on the fourth, fifth, and sixth density. Okay, meaning you need that physical body to do the work that you're supposed to do to get to the next level. So it's really exciting when you start understanding all of this and getting into what I like to call the cosmic view. That's right in between the third and fourth density. You are getting outside of your body. That's why I talk about meditation so much, because you need to understand that you are not this body. You need to experience that, not just learn about it from someone like me or watching other YouTubers or reading about it in books. That's step one. The next step is bringing this into a practice, actually experiencing the consciousness. The energy that comes with the fourth, fifth, and sixth density is so much more expansive than what's happening in the third density and below. So thank you all for being here. Shout out to the Inner Circle members. Shout out to everybody on the Patreon page. This is an exciting time to be alive. Make sure that you are entering this higher consciousness and doing the techniques that I talk about right here on the channel. Let me know in the comment section below if all this makes sense to you, what resonates with you, what doesn't resonate with you. I'd love to hear your opinions on this. Until next time, guys, I'm out. Infinite love, infinite peace.
Remember, you are infinite spirit soul. The higher self is always guiding you. Tap into the infinite cosmic conscious energy which is within us, around us, and everywhere.